Injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farrah doesn't flinch. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week here on 1010XL. And what a Friday news day it became a couple hours ago here in the city of Jacksonville with the reports that Travon Walker, a brand new 4-year extension here in Jacksonville that'll pay him $110 million, roughly $27.5 million per year for Travon Walker, the former #1 overall pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to talk all about it. What does it mean moving forward for the Jaguar defense? Where does it put Travon Walker among the highest paid edge guys in the National Football League? You now know why the Jaguars were saving some money, right? Why they weren't active in free agency. We had been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. Anton Harrison, they've already announced they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. And then you knew Travon Walker, Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, and Antonio Johnson were all set to become free agents after the 26th season. Well, that's now no longer the case with Travon Walker. So the question now is, are we going to see potential deals for either a Parker Washington or a Brenton Strange as well prior to training camp getting here in a little over 3 months? So a lot to get into when it comes to Travon Walker and the re-signing here in Jacksonville, and we're going to do a lot of Jaguar conversation tonight. Emory Hunt is the owner and the founder of Football Game Plan. You also see him on CBS Sports HQ. I get Emory normally every year right around this time, a few weeks out from the draft, because the 7th annual Football Game Plan draft guide comes out next week. And it's one of the best draft guides out there. Emory does an unbelievable job. He has scouted 1,200 players in this draft guide. 1,200. Only about 260 are going to be drafted. But he's got 1,200 in this draft guide. And from a Jaguar perspective, you're going to need to go a little deeper this year. Obviously, with no first-round pick, 11 picks overall. So we'll talk to Emory Hunt of Football Game Plan and CBS Sports HQ about the Jaguars, about those 4 picks in the top 100. We'll talk linebacker. We'll talk interior defensive line. And that conversation comes up here in about 15 minutes or so. Also, Ben Arthur of FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. Ben does a lot of work when it comes not only to the Jaguars, but the rest of the AFC South. So we will talk Jacksonville, but we'll also look at the goings-on in Nashville, in Indianapolis, and in Houston. The NFL announced today the offseason schedule for all the teams as far as when they report for offseason conditioning, OTAs, mini camps, etc. The Jaguars come in on April 20th. 2 weeks from Monday is when the players come back for the offseason program. They are on the field for OTAs the final week of May, the first week of June. They then have a mandatory minicamp towards the middle portion of June, and they will have one more OTA week right around then as well. And then they'll leave roughly June 17th or so, get about 5 or 6 weeks off, and then training camp will be here towards the latter stages of July. So a lot of Jaguar talk tonight. As always, we are glad you are with us to close out the week on a Friday here on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Aaron Williams. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So earlier this afternoon, about 3.5 hours ago roughly, I was in the midst of a knockdown, drag-out, water balloon, water gun battle with Little Hack. I mean, we were getting after it. I mean, this was serious, all right? There are some water gun, water balloon fights that aren't serious. No, when Little Hack and I do it, it's a big deal, all right? So we were launching water balloons at one another. I had the Super Soaker 10,000 or whatever it was, and I was getting after it. My man was feeling the pain, right? And he was trying to get me with water balloons, and it was getting real serious real quick. And then I got a bunch of alerts on my phone. My phone kept dinging and dinging and dinging. So I was like, what the heck? So I called a truce, right? I called a timeout. I said, Little Hack, hang on one second. Go over to the phone, and bam. Trayvon Walker, 4-year contract extension here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Little Hack was very receptive to that news, as I'm sure most of you were as well. So look, is it a lot of money? Yeah, it is. 27.5 sacks for Trayvon Walker. Now, he had an injury-plagued season this past year, really the first year that he's had an injury-plagued season in his 4 years in the league. He had been remarkably healthy up until this past season. Now, is this past season a one-off? Well, hopefully, right? That's the hope, is that he's going to be healthy and ready to go with this brand new contract. First and foremost, roughly $27.5 million per year. 4 years, $110 million. Let me go to Spot Track, and let me tell you what the edge market going rate is for average deals in years. Micah Parsons is number one. Micah Parsons makes $46.5 million per year. That's insane, but that's what Micah Parsons makes. Aiden Hutchinson is number 2 on the list. He was the number 2 pick to Trayvon Walker in the same draft. Aiden Hutchinson, $45 million per year. Number 3 is TJ Watt at $41 million per year. Number 4 is in the AFC South, Danielle Hunter from the Texans, $40.1 million per year. Then you go down to number 5, Myles Garrett, who's a $40 million per year man. Number 6, as it stands right now, is still Max Crosby in Las Vegas, $35.5. Number 7, Nick Bosa at $34 million per year. Jalen Phillips, the brand new Carolina Panther, comes in at number 8 after signing that 4-year, $120 million contract. Joshua Hines-Allen, number 9 for the Jaguars, $28.25. Brian Burns of the Giants rounds out the top 10 at $28.2. And then Trey Hendrickson, who just signed in Baltimore, at $28 million per year. And then that's where Trayvon Walker would be lumped in. As it stands right now, he's going to be lumped in at number 12. 12th among edge rushers in annual salary at $27.5 million per year. Is it a good deal for Trayvon Walker? Well, yeah, of course it is. But I think some people probably thought he might have gotten a little bit more. Now, the injuries last year hurt, only getting 3 sacks. If he would have had another double-digit sack season, well, then obviously at that point, the price of business would have gone up. I believe Trayvon already has 2 10-sack or more seasons to his credit in his 4 years in the National Football League. Some will tell you paying Trayvon Walker among the top 12 edge rushers in the NFL is a little expensive. But as you start going down the list, Nick Bonito in Denver, he's underpaid. He's currently number 13 now, behind Trayvon Walker. Then you get into Montez Sweat of Chicago, Andrew Van Ginkel of Minnesota, George Karlaftis of Kansas City, and Gregory Rousseau of Buffalo. So the point being, right, after Trey Hendrickson, who's making $28 million per year, you slot Trayvon Walker in right underneath him, which would be 12th among edge rushers right now. Nick Bonito should be making more money, and I don't know why his agent let Denver off the hook with a $26.5 million contract. Nick Benito is a fantastic player. Montez Sweat, Andrew Van Ginkel, George Karlaftis. Trayvon Walker's absolutely in the conversation with Van Ginkel and Karlaftis. He's absolutely in the conversation with Gregory Rousseau. I would probably take Montez Sweat over Trayvon Walker, at least right now. I think there'd be a conversation to be had there. Point in all this is the money is not outrageous. It's the going rate for 26, 27, 28-year-old edge defenders. And now the Jaguars have two of them in Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker locked in for the long haul, which I love that. Absolutely love that. So I don't have a problem with the money that Trayvon got. I hope last year was an anomaly with the injury because he had been remarkably healthy for his first 3 years in the National Football League. Trayvon Walker's biggest problem from a perception point of view is he was taken one pick ahead of Aiden Hutchinson. That's his biggest problem. And it had nothing to do with Trayvon Walker. Nothing. The Jaguars and Trent Baalke made the decision to take Trayvon over Aiden Hutchinson. And because of that, Trayvon gets kind of raked over the coals nationally. From an on-the-field perspective, Trayvon Walker is a good football player. And on the Jaguar defense, he allows them to do a lot of things. You can play him outside. You can play him inside. He takes double teams. He's good against the run. Trayvon Walker frees up other teammates on defense to make plays. And as far as a locker room guy, you talk about the Jaguar culture, the Jaguar DNA that Gladstone and Cohen and Baselli have talked about. I'm not sure if there's a better dude in that locker room than Trayvon Walker. That guy is awesome. I mean, he's just a good dude. It's easy to root for a guy like Trayvon Walker because he's just a fantastic teammate. He's everything the Jaguars are about. And again, I think when you take everything in totality today, 4 years, the money, what it means going forward, I think it is a good day for the Jacksonville Jaguars to get this deal done and to know now that Trayvon Walker is going to be here for the long haul. The question moving forward from an organization point of view is who's next? There's 3 more guys set to hit free agency after the 26th season. I think the distant third of those guys is probably Antonio Johnson. Now, I'll tell you, if Antonio Johnson has a 2026 like he had a 2025, that dude is going to get paid next offseason as well. Antonio Johnson was fantastic towards the latter stages of the year. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, a former 5th-round pick. Interesting to see what happens there. But clearly the next 2, one would think, Parker Washington and Brenton Strange. If it's me, I think Parker Washington is going to get done next. I think Parker Washington is going to get done next. Lock him up, just like you did with Jacoby Myers. You got BTJ on the rookie deal. You get mix in Travis Hunter wherever you like. And you get all those guys at wide receiver knowing that's your nucleus for the next 2 or 3 years. Man, you're in great shape from a skill position point of view. Brenton Strange, I also would hope to get done prior to training camp, but Brenton's a more interesting one. Because like Parker, Brenton's coming out party was last year. It was clearly his best year in the National Football League. It was his first year as a starter, obviously without Evan Ingram. But with Parker, you're not going to have to pay Parker Washington top 15 wide receiver money, top 10 wide receiver money, one wouldn't think. He's going to get paid, but he's not going to get top-end dollar at his position. Brenton Strange is going to get that. I mean, you're going to have to pay Brenton Strange among the top 10, maybe, dare I say, top 5 tight ends in the National Football League. So from that standpoint, the Brenton Strange extension may be a little more complicated than Parker Washington. But getting Trayvon done today is awesome for the Jaguars because now you can try to work on getting one of those two guys done before the season in either Parker or Brenton. Because worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario? And the reason I would do Parker first is if you need to, right? If you need to, you can franchise Brenton Strange. I don't want either guy going anywhere. I don't know if you can franchise Parker Washington. I would tend to doubt it. But you can franchise Brenton. So if you get Parker Washington done, just like they got Trayvon Walker done, you're going to have Anton Harrison's fifth-year option picked up. And then you go into the offseason, yeah, you'll have to figure out the Antonio Johnson thing. But if worst comes to worst, you could put the franchise tag on Brenton to ensure that he's not going anywhere either. That's why getting Trayvon done today, an enormous deal for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, I don't feel they broke the bank either. Trayvon slots in as the 12th now per average yearly salary, the 12th best salary among edge rushers in the National Football League. But again, when you consider he's getting paid just a tad bit more than Andrew Van Ginkel, George Karlaftis, Gregory Rousseau, that's the price of doing business, man. I mean, that's what it is for 26, 27, 28-year-old edge rushers that are as productive as Trayvon Walker, 27 and a half sacks in just 4 years. And keep in mind all the time he missed this past season with some injuries at his wrist and certainly there with the knee as well. So a good day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And like we talked about, quiet in free agency, right? All they did was bring in Chris Rodriguez. Well, what are they doing? The crickets. They're not bringing in anybody. Trayvon Walker, Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, Anton Harrison, Antonio Johnson. You got to take care of your own guys. You got to take care of in-house when you had so many guys coming up for deals. And that process began earlier today with the Jaguars locking up Trayvon Walker on a 4-year contract extension. And one of the things that I love, I talk about Trayvon being a great locker room guy. You see the reaction of his teammates on social media. I think Hines Allen, Foye, Jarian Jones, I think I saw Jordan Lewis as well, all loving it that Trayvon is now locked up long-term. Good move, great move by James Gladstone as he gets year number 2 for himself as the Jaguars general manager underway. And a big part of that is coming up in 20 days. 20 days away from the National Football League draft up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, 11 picks overall, including 4 in the top 100. Let's talk to a man I talk to every year. He's the owner of Football Game Plan. You see him on CBS Sports HQ. His name's Emory Hunt, and he puts together, in my opinion, probably the most comprehensive draft guide every single year. Emory's been doing it for almost 2 decades. The draft guide only started coming out, I believe, in 2020. So this is year 7, I want to say, of the draft guide. 1,200 prospects have scouting reports in this Football Game Plan draft guide. It is as large and as comprehensive as you could ever ask for. Emory Hunt of Football Game Plan and CBS Sports joins me next on a Friday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us, Jacksonville. Till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
You know how superheroes have these secret identities?
Who is that girl?
She's Lauren Brooks
I'm 1/3 of an elite crime-fighting team backed by an anonymous millionaire.
on Helmets and Heels from 2 to 4
At your service.
on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists congratulate the 1010XL Scholar Athlete of the Week.
Jada Mincy, senior cheerleader, weightlifter, and track and field athlete at First Coast High School. She's the president of the National Honor Society and has been accepted to attend FSU.
Attention skilled electricians, are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just a job, but an experience, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Longer days, warmer nights, and a backyard that brings everyone together. Spring and summer in Florida means pool days, backyard barbecues, and night swims under the stars. Thicket here for nearly 50 years, Surfside Pools has been creating the backdrops for life's best memories. From weekly service and repairs to remodels, commercial maintenance, and new pool construction, Surfside does it all. Ready to float happy? SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools, summer starts here. License number CPC 044080.
Hey, Jacksonville, David Garrard here. If you want a street-legal golf cart that's built with quality and style, check out Dynamic Drives and Designs in Jax Beach. They have new, used, and fully customized carts from the top brands like Atlas, Dodge, and Pilot Car. Every cart gets a complete expert inspection, so you know it's ready to hit the road. Their team can help you design the perfect custom cart that fits your style and needs. For your custom golf cart, visit dynamicdrivesdesign.com today and see your perfect ride.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are now inside of 3 weeks away, if you can believe that, from the National Football League draft, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, first time in franchise history, they currently do not have a first-round pick, but what they do have are 11 picks overall, including 4 inside the top 100. Let's talk Jaguar draft. Let's look at this overall draft class, and let's do it with one of our favorites, Emory Hunt. You see him on CBS Sports HQ. He's also the owner of Football Game Plan, and that comprehensive Football Game Plan draft guide comes out on Monday, year number 7 already for the Football Game Plan draft guide. Emory, it's your time of year, man. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. As always, I appreciate you bringing me on the show around this time.
Hey, Emory, we certainly appreciate it. We're going to talk Jaguars with you, but first and foremost, congrats to you for Football Game Plan. That's something that you started 7 years ago. Now your 7th draft guide gets released on Monday. What a very, very cool accomplishment.
And listen, we've been in business since 2007, and we started doing a draft guide, like you mentioned, 7 years ago, because prior to that, we were putting all our content out on YouTube. And it's funny because I was going through some old photos and I started the idea of the draft guide in 2018, but just didn't get around to doing it until 2020. And man, I wish I would have done this sooner, because now it holds me accountable and it gives me more of an opportunity to flesh out my true thoughts, as opposed to just putting a number next to a name. Now you really get an idea of what I watched, what I saw, and where a guy can go improve his game.
It is one of the most comprehensive draft guides out there. I've seen it for the last couple of years, and it is a lot of information. Emory, what went into this year's draft guide? How many players are we talking about?
We're talking about over 1,200, and this is the largest one I put out. It's funny because every time I come on the show, I say this is the largest draft guide I've put out, so that number keeps growing in the right direction. But the problem is guys need to start coming out of school on time, so therefore we won't have these super large draft classes, but this one has over 1,200. I'm excited about it. I always dive deep, and it's cool to find the little gems, the diamonds in the rough that no one is talking about, because you go so many prospects in.
Emery, we'll obviously tell people again towards the end about the draft guide and how to get it. But for people right now, if they want to get their hands on the football game plan draft guide, the 7th annual that comes out next Monday, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Pre-order right now, footballgameplan.com/2026 draft guide. It'll come right to your email inbox once it's live April 6th. And it's a full color PDF. It's not a physical copy. I get that question a lot, man. I would charge $3,000 for a physical copy of a book of 1,200 something pages. But you get a full color PDF, and it's a pretty cool concept that not only helps you out during the draft, but also post-draft, in the preseason, and during the regular season when we know these rosters are transient.
Again, 1,200 players in this year's football game plan draft guide. Emery Hunt put it together. It comes out next week, and we'll tell you more about it. Emery Hunt is with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Emery, you and I haven't spoke since the season ended, so just a big picture view from you on year number 1 for Liam Cohen and James Gladstone here in Jacksonville. On the surface, you go from 4 wins to 13 wins. Well, obviously, it was a success. But what did you take away from year number 1 for Cohen and Gladstone?
I like how they're in position to have success, and that's just the mark of a good coach. And I've been on this show for years, and I've been defending Trevor Lawrence because I still believe he is a good player, a good guy, and a good quarterback. And we saw him look like how he was supposed to look when they drafted him. And we saw that in spurts. But it had been a minute. This was someone that put these guys in position to have success. They looked like they were having fun out there. The offense looked like he could score at will. Defensively, they were flying around the football. It was a joy to watch Jacksonville play football last year, and I hope they're able to continue that moving forward.
Now, it's been a relatively quiet offseason. Obviously, a couple of departures, Travis Etienne, Devin Lloyd, and only one arrival in free agency, Chris Rodriguez. Let's begin there. Etienne gone. Obviously, they liked what they saw to Bashal Tutin last year, LaQuint Allen Jr., both guys coming into year number 2. And they also get another young guy in Chris Rodriguez, who had 500 yards in Washington last season. Emery, do they have enough in the running back room right now to replace Etienne, or do they need to address that in the draft as well?
I think they have to address that. I think when you look at the depth chart they have, and when you think of, okay, well, what's missing? The threat is missing. And Etienne gave you that threat. I'm sorry, Achane gave you that threat.
Yeah.
Back there in the backfield. And right now, Tune has some speed, some burst, but he doesn't have the same threat that Achane had when he was running the football. But that's what I always look at when I look at the running back position. Yeah, you can get by with this group and have a run game. But, man, when you have a guy that can legitimately score from anywhere on the field, it changes how teams defend you, how they align against your offensive set, and it makes the job easier for all of these wide receivers because you're worried about the guy in the backfield being able to hit a home run.
Similar question defensively. Devin Lloyd is gone. On the roster right now, Ventrell Miller, Jack Kaiser. James Gladstone continues to talk about Branson Combs as well, who was an undrafted rookie who found his way to the 53 towards the end of last season. Do you believe Lloyd's replacement is one of those 3 guys, or do they need to find Lloyd's replacement in a couple of weeks?
I'm a big fan of Jack Kaiser. I think that's a guy that they can look towards and saying, hey, he played a lot of productive football at Notre Dame, very good athlete. Him and Miller gives you a little bit of what you want to get at that second level. Now, Lloyd was a difference maker. Lloyd just found the football consistently. I don't know how he did it. He had a tracking device on it, just kind of found his way around him all the time. But, man, you got enough athleticism, I believe, with Miller and Kaiser. I'll be interested to see how that battle plays out. They can always add a depth guy there, but you drafted Kaiser last year in the 4th round and Miller 2 years ago. Well, this regime didn't draft him, but he was on the team for 2 years, or 3 drafts ago. So you got to give those guys a chance to make plays. And I feel like when you look at Kaiser, I think that's the one that no one's really talking enough about who has a legitimate shot of doing it.
Emery Hunt, the owner of Football Game Plan. You also see him on CBS Sports HQ. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Emery, before we look to the draft, let's look back a year ago. Boy, it was a redshirt year for a lot of Jaguar rookies in 2025. We only saw 7 games of Travis Hunter. It looks like he's going to play primarily defensive back now, joining Monteric Brown, Jordan Lewis, and Jarian Jones. We never saw Caleb Ransaw, the third-round pick out of Tulane, got hurt in the preseason. And Wyatt Milam, very similar. The third-round offensive lineman out of West Virginia, only saw him sparingly at the end of the year due to injury. So I think obviously the excitement for Hunter goes without saying, but when you lump Ransaw and Milam in there, certainly a lot of excitement to me about all 3 guys returning for year number 2.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a big fan of Jabbar Muhammad as well, too. The undrafted free agent out of Oregon. So, yeah, you get those guys back. Second year in the scheme, in the system, ready to go. Hunter is going to be the one that's going to be the difference maker that you want to see out there doing exactly what he did at Jackson State in Colorado. So having him out there, and the reason why you see the jump from guys' rookie season to their second season, it's a more normal off season. They don't have them guys traveling around on either the All-Star game circuit and or the combine and pro day visits and 30 visits and all of those things. And they finally let their body rest. Now he's recovering from an injury, but you let your body rest. You get a full off season of just straight getting your body, rested and ready to go. And you won't have that full calendar year of playing football. So I like the fact that these guys that hadn't had the that break, so to speak, get to come in now and really play ball because they drafted well, like we talked about last year. And those guys coming in are going to play a huge role. But expect to see the biggest jump from Hunter, even though he's coming off of an injury.
Emory, let's look ahead to a couple of weeks. First time in franchise history, at least for now, the Jaguars do not have a first-round pick. But what they do have are 11 picks total, including 4 inside the top 100. Now, I've been told day 2 may potentially be the sweet spot in this year's draft. What's your thought overall on Jacksonville and those 4 top 100 selections?
I think that's where at the end of the day, you're talking to somebody who's probably not the best person to talk to when people bring up where is the draft deep or where is the whole draft is the sweet spot because there's so many doggone players and prospects. And so I feel like you can't go wrong wherever you are in the draft. You can find somebody that can help your team win. Just like you brought up Bronson Combs, undrafted free agent guy that, obviously is going to play into this mix at linebacker. And I just brought up Jabbar Muhammad. So there's guys you can find everywhere. So, yes, having 4 picks in the top 100, ideal for Jacksonville, especially coming off of a draft class where I thought, excelled and landed some real cornerstone players that can help them out for at least 3 to 5 years.
Emory Hunt, the owner of Football Game Plan. All right, Emory, let's dive into linebacker. If they are looking for a Lloyd replacement, we hear a lot of Jacob Rodriguez talk in these parts. We hear a lot of Trotter, Jeremiah's son, the young man from the University of Missouri, Anthony Hill Jr., although I think that's getting kind of ambitious. I don't think he's going to be there at 56. Realistically for Jacksonville in round 2 or round 3, some linebackers that might be on the board that could potentially help replace Devin Lloyd.
I love Aiden Fisher out of Indiana. I think he has the fluid hips, the spatial awareness that you want to see. Just always making the right play, the smart play. You like that. Torian York of Texas A&M. People will look at 5'10", 226 and be scared away. But every time you watch an A&M game, he's darting and dashing across that second level. His read and recognition skills are insane. And I think that, to me, is more along the lines of what you loved about Lloyd coming out of college, the fact that, man, he was always around the football. York is just like that. So I think that's one guy that I would be ecstatic if they found. Harold Perkins. Listen, I know Perkins, he has the most head-scratching college career we've ever seen. Because in his freshman year, he looked like the next coming of Michael Parsons. And then LSU decided to move him off the ball and have him covering running backs. Took him a year to get adjusted to that. Then the third year, he gets hurt. And then this past year, they have him as a star position where he's kind of playing a linebacker safety hybrid, but he's still making plays. That's the type of guy you want on your defense because at any point in time, he will make the game-changing play. People ask what position he plays. He plays defense. That's the position he plays. So grab him and put him on that second level and let him just wreak havoc.
Emery, as far as the interior defensive line, there appears to be some needs there for Jacksonville. Eric Armstead, probably not long for this place after 26. Mason Smith just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. Caleb Banks is a guy that I think people would love to have here. I don't know if he'll be there at 56. Plus, there's some foot injury issues. Another local kid, Daryl Jackson out of Florida State. And you look at a lot of these mocks, it seems Grayson Halton, the young man from Oklahoma, seems to get mocked to Jacksonville a bunch. What's your thought about the interior D-line?
Grayson Holt has that quickness you like off the ball. I mean, talking about somebody that really you have to double check the tape to make sure you're not watching it and fast forward. That's how fast he is off the ball. And I know people will kind of shudder at his size, but again, size is not a skill. And those guys do a good job of playing at their size. They're experts in that regard the whole time. So I don't worry about that as long as you can find ways to win. I'm good with you. And he's done that a lot in his game. I think he is arguably one of the more under-discussed players in the class. Caleb Proctor out of Southeastern Louisiana, another one that balled out in bigger games. La Tech, Louisiana State, and in the playoffs against Illinois State, he had a really good game too. So those are some guys. Dominic Orange, big fan of what he brings to the table. Has a name that's nickname that suits him in Florida, Big Citrus. That goes well. When you think about what he does, he's able to hold his point of attack and disengage. And I like how some of these guys that are built like nose tackles, that played nose tackle at the collegiate level, but also can be one gap penetrators, can fit in this defense. Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, another one that made the most of his opportunities in the Senior Bowl, got people to go back and look at his tape and where he was dominant on film there for the Red Raiders. So, yeah, this is a very good interior defensive line group, one that can help you out in a multitude of ways.
Emery, as we wrap up, I want to tell people about the draft guide that comes out next week with Football Game Plan. The Caleb Banks foot issues, does that scare you as a guy that analyzes these players every year?
It's interesting. That's a great question because when you think about, to use a basketball reference, right? When you think about big guys with foot injuries, that doesn't bode well, right? You think about the Greg Odens, you think about, all of these large, centers that had some semblance of a foot issue. Now, let's hope for his sake it's not the case. But even then, we're talking about someone on day 2 because we're not talking about a first-round pick. So if he's there for you on day 2, you have a shorter commitment window to where, okay, we understand the risk. We can take the risk. He is definitely worth the risk. So I wouldn't worry too much about it on day 2. Day 1 is a premium pick. I would be a little bit more hesitant because of the foot injuries and the historical, sense that we've seen. Big guys with these foot injuries, they tend to have some semblance of an effect on them long term.
You see Emery Hunt on CBS Sports HQ. You also see him in his work as Football Game Plan's owner. Emery, again, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, you've been doing this for almost 2 decades. It's year 7 for the draft guide. 1,200 players you've analyzed in the Football Game Plan draft guide. People can get a hold of it next week, a PDF form. Tell folks here in Jacksonville about the draft guide and what's the best place to go get it.
Well, what I love about the draft guide is the fact that it's a straight meat and potatoes guide. When it's week 9 and your team signs someone, let's just use sake of a easy name, Keldrick Falk, and you're like, man, what does this guy do? And then you pull up the guide, bullet points. Here's what this guy does well. Here's where he has to improve. Boom. That's all you need to know. You don't care about his 40 time. You don't care about his vertical jump. You don't care how big his hands are. All you care about is what can this guy do to help my team win? Well, you got over 1,200 scout reports just like that in this guy, from guys from, Auburn to guys from, Indiana Wesleyan. So we cover the full gambit, and no matter who's on that preseason roster, best believe 95% we have a scout report for them in this draft guide. So I love it. It's a labor of love. It takes me 3 months to accomplish, to get through all the film and scouting reports in the midst of going to the combine and all 8 all-star games on boots on the ground everywhere. So it's a well-rounded draft guide, and it's from the perspective of me. Because here's the thing. When we are looking for information, people subscribe to you and listen to you and like you because they like how you think or what you have to say. So you're getting my thoughts on these players, and what more can you ask for? Because, again, it's great insight. And a lot of times we're ahead of the curve on a lot of players that people may not know about.
It is the most comprehensive draft guide that I look at every single year. Emory, for the people here in Jacksonville that want to get their thoughts out there, that want to see this draft guide when it comes out next week, is the simplest way the website. Go over to Football Game Plan.
Footballgameplan.com/2026 draft guide. It will be in your email inbox. Be sure to check your spam. If it's not there, you can shoot me an email and we'll rectify the issue. But it's footballgameplan.com/2026 draft guide.
He's one of the best. Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ, and of course the owner of Football Game Plan. Emory, I know you're very busy this time of year. Thank you, and we'll hopefully be able to catch up with you after the draft. We'll see how James Gladstone did in year number 2. Appreciate you, pal.
Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Streaming live from the XL Digital Studios. Polished by Harbor Dental Care, the locally owned smile restoration experts. Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by the personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah, Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville, and Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
Looking for golf that doesn't feel like golf? Welcome to Pine Royale, Callahan's new golf entertainment destination. Play a 9-hole par 3 course, compete in TrackMan-powered driving bays, and get ready for all-new 18-hole mini golf coming soon. As the sun goes down, the course lights up. Add in great food, a full bar, and space to hang with the whole crew, and suddenly golf feels a whole lot more social. Search Pine Royale Callahan and come play today.
Jacksonville, get ready. April 6th, the Florida Theater presents Leonid and Friends. This 11-piece band brings the sound of Chicago to life. Horns, vocals, all the energy. Hear favorites from Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, and more. One night only, April 6th. Get your tickets now at floridatheater.com.
Do you remember? Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Till 10 o'clock. Glad you're with us. 1010XL 92.5 FM. Again, thank you to my buddy Emory Hunt of Football Game Plan and also CBS Sports HQ for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. We'll get Emory back on after the draft. We always do kind of a before and an after with Emory. 1,200 people, 1,200 draft prospects in his draft guide that comes out next week. That is a lot of scouting that Emory Hunt does over there at Football Game Plan. NFL draft 3 weeks away. Jaguars have 11 picks overall. And the big news earlier today for Jacksonville is Trayvon Walker back in the fold, a 4-year contract extension for Trayvon Walker. So now you start thinking about it. You got Trayvon locked up long-term. You got Joshua Hines-Allen long-term. You got Trevor Lawrence long-term. Jacoby Myers on a 3-year deal that he signed last season. Cole Van Lannon as well. You're getting a lot of these young nucleus guys locked up long-term, which I like. Hopefully Parker Washington is going to be next. We've got Brenton Strange, Antonio Johnson, all set to become free agents at the end of this season. The Jaguars have basically announced they're going to pick up the 5th-year option on Anton Harrison. So it's a good day for the Jacksonville Jaguars as Trayvon Walker for another 4 years at least here in Jacksonville with a brand new 4-year contract extension. More on the Jacksonville Jaguars, more on the National Football League coming up in just a moment. You know, it is the Final Four tomorrow. Obviously, we were hoping, or I say we, most of us that either cover and are objective broadcast journalists like myself, or if you're a fan of the Florida Gators, we're hoping Florida would be in the mix. The Iowa Hawkeyes took care of that about 12 days ago. But the Final Four is tomorrow, and something I was thinking about, I literally know one UConn Husky fan. I know one person. Now, I'm sure there's a bunch of UConn Husky fans, maybe here in Jacksonville, but I know of one, and he's sitting about 20 feet from me right now. So Aaron Williams, the resident UConn Husky fan, who's in there living and dying with the Lady Huskies in the Final Four right now, taking on South Carolina. I know there's only about 6 minutes left in the game, so I won't keep you too long here, as South Carolina, I guess, is up 4. The Lady Huskies are undefeated, 38-0.
38-0.
That's pretty
and
impressive.
This is by far their toughest challenge. I mean, it's kind of having the same similar problem that the men were having on Saturday.
And we're
They
going
just can't hit a shot.
Yeah, we're going to get to the men. We're going to get to the men quickly, because I don't want to be considered to be biased by any stretch. Give us 30 seconds on the game. 48-44, South Carolina. Dawn Staley versus Gina Auriemma. Does it matter who's in the other national semifinal? I mean, whoever wins this game is going to win the national title, correct?
That's what most people are thinking, but I mean, UCLA is they're pretty good. I've kept up with them a little bit, but yeah, everybody has big implications on this game. You know, basically, whoever wins this, they think that's the favorite to win the whole thing.
Well, and tomorrow it's the exact opposite. UConn's in one of the games, yet everybody will tell you they believe the winner of Michigan-Arizona will win the national championship. Quickly, from a UConn point of view, have you come off of cloud 9 after Mullins' shot to beat Duke? And if UConn were to lose tomorrow to Illinois, or even lose on Monday and not win the national title, does it take away from that Mullins shot being one of the greatest ever? Because Leitner in 92 that beat Kentucky, Duke went on to win the title. And then, of course, you have Chris Jenkins of Villanova, who won the title at the buzzer. You got the 83 NC State team, who won the title at the buzzer. If Mullins and this UConn shot wants any thought of being known as one of the best ever, does UConn have to win the next two and win the national championship?
I think so. I mean, it was a great shot. Obviously, as it'll go down as, you know, one of the more memorable ones. But Dan Hurley said in a press conference, we don't hang banners for Final Four appearances at UConn. You know, we have to win championships. And, you know, for them to hit that shot and then not win the championship after that, after they were down and probably played their worst game of the season against Duke, and to come back and win, it'd be pretty disappointing if they can't come through and win the whole thing.
I mean, look, there's a lot of people that I know that don't like Dan Hurley. I like Dan Hurley.
He's the same way as you say people feel about Todd Gordon. If he's on your side, you love him, because I love him. He's great.
I mean, but that's the thing. He's not on my side, and I find myself almost rooting for Dan Hurley. I think he's great for the game. I get how he rubs people the wrong way. And if UConn were to beat Florida and he was talking smack after the game or whatever, maybe my opinion changes. But tomorrow night, I might watch UConn and Illinois, and the reason I might watch it, one of the main reasons, is just quite frankly to see what Dan Hurley's going to do.
Yeah, you know, he's always entertaining. You love him or hate him, he's always going to be entertaining when you see him.
And one of the teams tomorrow night, we mentioned Arizona and Michigan. We talked here on Hacker After Dark, and it was a thought, obviously, everywhere, that Tommy Lloyd, the head coach for Arizona, was in the running for North Carolina. And I said, well, wait a minute. What if he wins the national championship? I mean, if he wins the national championship at Arizona, which, by the way, they're only 2 wins away from doing, can you leave after a national title to take the job at North Carolina? And people said, well, yeah, you can. Well, obviously, Tommy Lloyd said, I'm not going anywhere, as he signs an extension with Arizona today. So if you're North Carolina, I mean, at this point, it's Billy Donovan, right? I guess there's other names being floated out there. And I'm just curious, Gator fan. You know, obviously you're in love with Todd Golden, and with good reason. Hit me up on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, and we'll throw this out, next week as well. But I'm curious, if Billy Donovan, at 60 years of age, were to come back to the college game to be the head coach of North Carolina, how would Gator fans feel about that? I mean, Billy the Kid, Billy's name is on the court in Gainesville. It's Billy Donovan Court. Would you be bitter at all if Billy Donovan was the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels? Or Todd Golden's the man, already got us a national championship, he's got the swagger. Does that soften the blow if the guy whose name is on the court in Gainesville takes over in Chapel Hill for North Carolina? Because now that Tommy Lloyd's taken his name out of the running, there's still some college guys in the mix, but you're going to start hearing Billy Donovan more and more and more. And I'm just curious what Gator fans would think about that if Billy were to come back to the college game to coach the North Carolina Tar Heels. More NFL talk on the way. Ben Arthur, Fox Sports, foxsports.com. We'll talk Jaguars. We'll also look around the rest of the AFC South, what's gone on in Houston, in Indianapolis, and in Tennessee this offseason. Also, aside from the Trayvon Walker news earlier today, a lot of other NFL stuff has happened in the last 24 hours. We'll get into it next on a Friday night here in Northeast Florida, heading into Easter weekend. It's Hacker After Dark.
We love winning, and 1010XL wants you to win our contests. We also like to share the winning. That's why we ask you to wait 30 days to win again, so others get a chance to have the winning feeling. Find complete contest details at 1010XL.com.
Hi, this is Dale Murray with Murray Automotive Group in Stark and Kingsland. Save yourself from those big city dealers and their fast-talking mumbo-jumbo. No matter what your automotive need is, we've got you covered. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and nobody beats our prices. I mean nobody. Shazam! Plus our exclusive 15-year, 150,000-mile warranty included on every qualified vehicle. And we'll trade anything from high heels to wagon wheels. Compare our prices online at ShazamAuto.com. Then come see me, Dale Murray. I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
Make more birdies with pointers from the pros on Brunch with the Tour with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation. Tuesday morning at 8:30 on 1010XL.
The Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach is better than ever. Come experience our new renovated spaces, including an expanded wellness center with upgraded state-of-the-art equipment, recovery solutions, brand new locker rooms, and the Horsell Center for Health and Well-Being, all designed to help you feel your best. And now you can join with no joining fee. Plus, enjoy your 4th month free. There's no place like this place. And you'll love what's new. Visit the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call Zero Res. Hey, Hicken here. Step into a fresher, cleaner home this spring with Zero Res. You might think because you mop off and your floors are clean, but they're actually collecting dirt not obvious to the eye. After a while, the hardwood or tile or LVP looks dull. This is where Zero Res can help. This month, 20% off all hard floor cleaning. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $135. Call 287-5727 or go online at ZeroResJacksonville.com. Make sure to ask for the 1010XL special.
Zero Res.
The Jacksonville Icemen are in town for 3 games, starting Thursday for $3 beer and wine night, plus Paint the Ice. Be part of Paint the Ice post-game and honor a loved one in a powerful way. Your $5 donation helps support cancer-related organizations right here in our community. Then join us again on Friday and Saturday as the Icemen continue to freeze the Florida Everblades. All games start at 7 p.m. Tickets available on Ticketmaster or by visiting JacksIceman.com.
IcemanHockey.com.
Iceman Hockey is #Sub-Zero.
Longer days, warmer nights, and a backyard that brings everyone together. Spring and summer in Florida means pool days, backyard barbecues, and night swims under the stars. Pick it here. For nearly 50 years, Surfside Pools have been creating the backdrops for life's best memories. From weekly service and repairs to remodels, commercial maintenance, and new pool construction, Surfside does it all. Ready to float happy? SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools. Summer starts here. License number CPC 044080.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Big news here in Jacksonville. Trayvon Walker, a new 4-year contract extension. Tell you one of the cool things that I saw. Ian Rappaport tweeted this out. Just go to his Twitter handle. They had pre-recorded an interview with Christian Miller of Georgia, and it aired like at 7 o'clock on the NFL Network. And while they were pre-taping this interview at 4:30 or 5 o'clock or whenever it was, the Trayvon Walker news broke. And they got Christian Miller on video with Rap Sheet, and just the look of joy on his face from one Georgia Bulldog to another. Apparently, he's got a close relationship with Trayvon Walker. Well, he was pumped for his guy, Trayvon. That's what I'm talking about, man. Trayvon Walker's a great, football player, but he might be an even better dude. And you're not going to find a lot of people that have anything negative to say about Trayvon Walker. And to see Christian Miller, who's getting ready for the draft, to see him get so fired up about Trayvon's extension here in Jacksonville, again, just solidifies to me, the type of guy that Trayvon is as a person, but also he's a heck of a football player, and congrats to him today. And congrats to James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, and the Jaguars on getting that done. More National Football League news over the last 24 hours. How about this in Kansas City? This from ESPN.com. The NFL announced Friday that it concluded its own investigation into Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, stating that he, quote, has not engaged in conduct that violates the personal conduct policy. The NFL also said its investigation into accusations from his former girlfriend is closed. At this time, Rice, who's 25, is not going to be disciplined by the league, which determined that, quote, there was insufficient evidence to support a finding that he violated the league's personal conduct policy. So, translation, Kansas City gets their best wide receiver back without any suspension of any kind as they get ready for the 2026 season. We spent almost an entire segment on Wednesday talking about, is Fernando Mendoza the next Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins, 45,000 yards passing in his career, 300 touchdowns in his career, completing 67% of his passes in his career. I don't think he'll ever get in, but I think there will be a conversation about getting him on the ballot for Canton, Ohio, particularly if he has a good couple of years to finish out his career. Again, 45,000 yards passing is no joke. 300 touchdown passes is no joke. And we said, if Mendoza does that, could he be considered a bust if he has the type of year that Kirk Cousins has? And lo and behold, Kirk Cousins is now going to mentor Fernando Mendoza, as Cousins was signed by the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday. Of course, all indications are the Raiders, with the number 1 pick, will draft Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner out of Indiana. And I think that's a really, really good fit. Now you don't have to play Mendoza just to play him if you don't think he's ready. And from what Cousins signed, I mean, it was a huge contract, but basically it's a 1-year, $20 million deal. Seems like they're going to play Kirk Cousins. I don't know why you would pay a guy $20 million to come in and hold a clipboard. Seems to me the plan is to play Cousins, at least at the start, and let Mendoza learn a little bit, which is an interesting tact because you don't see a lot of NFL teams doing that sort of thing very much anymore. Also in the National Football League, I mentioned Aaron, you're a UConn fan. You're also a diehard LA Rams fan. Boy, your guy Puka, man, are we worried about Puka Nacua? One of the best wide receivers in football, but he can't seem to stay out of the headlines, can't seem to stay off of TMZ. Now, in his defense, there are cameras everywhere, particularly in Los Angeles. Some of the stuff he's got caught on camera doing is not illegal, but it's certainly not a good look for a star wide receiver to be absolutely tanked out in public and have to get in different Jeeps and cars and whisked away by your buddies. That aside, he's a 20-something-year-old millionaire that's a star in the NFL. It's not a crime to do that. It's not a good look. But I'll tell you what is starting to become criminal activity, potentially, is some of the things that he's been accused of, then not accused of, and it's to the point now where he reportedly has checked himself into rehab. Again, according to ESPN.com, Puka Nacua has checked himself into rehab. His attorney told the California Post on Wednesday. Last month, a woman in LA filed a lawsuit against Nacua, alleging that he made an unprovoked anti-Semitic statement on New Year's Eve and later bit her on the shoulder. Aaron, how concerned are you about your star wide receiver?
I'm not concerned about it because of the people that he has around him. And I mean by Sean McVay and Leslie. They're going to get him together, because if they don't, I won't even say when they don't. I know they're going to get him together. Look, he's, young, a bit immature.
He's definitely immature.
Say it again?
He's definitely immature.
Very immature. But again, he's, not. I think he's 25 or 26 or not even 25 or 26. Look, the people in the building in the Rams organization, they're gonna get him right. That's why they got him into rehab. I don't know if they got him into, but someone got him in there, which he needs it. So I think that's going to be good for him. And eventually, Sean McVay and Leslie, they're going to have a long sit down and talk with him. They're going to get him right. I mean, you see on his field on the play is spectacular. Now he just needs to get his play off of the field and just get his head on right so they can go out there and win more football games.
And that time is now, by the way. This is the final straw.
Yeah.
When he gets out of rehab and when he gets into the Rams facility for off-season workouts or whatever, I mean, this is it. That you want to talk about that conversation that Sean McVay and Les Snead are going to have? That's going to happen when Puka Nacua walks in the building this offseason with the Rams, because this is not going to stand. When you got lawsuits being filed against you for, statements that you've made and allegedly, again, that's a key word, allegedly biting a female on the shoulder, you're getting into some bad territory there. So the Rams need to nip this in the bud now, and I think that's going to happen very, very quickly.
I agree. I don't think, again, Sean McVay and Leslie, they're very transparent, and I'm sure they've had conversations with him in the past, but they're going to have a final, big conversation with him to make sure that his head is on straight, for years to come with the Rams.
Let's talk Jaguar offseason, and not only the Jaguar offseason, let's look around the rest of the AFC South. Let's talk Indianapolis. I hate what they've done this offseason. Absolutely hate it. Let's talk Tennessee. I think they're better, but that's relative because they were awful last year. And let's talk Houston. David Montgomery, a couple of offensive linemen. Does that offense scare you anymore, or is it still Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud on a good day? We'll talk about how the AFC South looks as we enter the month of April. Teams, believe it or not, teams with first-year head coaches, they report back on Monday for off-season conditioning, April 6th, for about 10 teams in the league with brand-new head coaches. And then everybody is on the field next month for rookie minicamps and OTAs. How is the AFC South checking out over the last 3 months or so of the NFL offseason? Ben Arthur, Fox Sports and FoxSports.com joins us next on a Friday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Till 10 o'clock, it's Hacker After Dark.
When big sports news happens,
Listen up!
Jacksonville turns to 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
David Garrard here, and once again, I'm reporting good news about how good my knees are doing following PRP treatment at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For an old quarterback like me, my knees are in great shape.
You don't have to be a celebrity or a professional athlete to appreciate the everyday personal attention you'll receive at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For any orthopedic need, call on the pros at SOS.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Take a walk on the wild side and step into the great outdoors.
Look at this beast.
Captain Kevin and Captain Kirk join Jeff Lageman every Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on the Nimnet Outdoors Show.
You got it.
On 1010XL, the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Don't wait around like you're the last pick of the draft. When your car needs an oil change, go where you're a first-round priority. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. No appointment needed. Just drive in, stay in your car, and in 15 minutes, you're back on the road. That's a first-round performance. With convenient Jacksonville locations, a 4.7-star national rating, and named #1 Quick Lube for customer service by Forbes, Valvoline delivers every time. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Drive in today.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. 3 weeks away from the National Football League draft. It'll be April 23rd, 24th, and 25th up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars have 11 draft picks total, including 4 picks inside the top 100. Let's talk draft, but let's certainly look back on free agency, things that transpired not only here in Jacksonville, but around the rest of the AFC South. And how does the division look as we start heading into OTAs, believe it or not, which are now set to take place beginning next month. Ben Arthur, Fox Sports and FoxSports.com, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
It has been, Ryan. Thanks for having me. All is well. How are things on your end?
We're good, Ben. Things are going well. And look, from a Jaguar perspective, it's been a relatively quiet offseason, which is sort of a change from what we've had here the last couple of years. The biggest news are a couple of departures in Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd. Only one arrival in running back Chris Rodriguez. Ben, from a mile-high view, how would you assess the Jaguar offseason to this point?
I'd say James Gladstone and that front office, Liam Cohen, all those guys. I mean, it seems like they're playing the long game, right? Because on the surface, you look at their depth chart. I mean, it definitely took a hit, right? And you think, like they must be playing like the comp pick game, build and sustain success through the draft, right? In developing your young players. That's kind of like the biggest thing that screams to me from looking at what the Jags have done to this point. Because like you said, only Chris Rodriguez has been added. They're really asking for guys to have to step up, right? I think there's a lot of projection involved in what the Jaguars are doing just because of the kind of production they've lost with ETN and Devin Lloyd. So I think it's going to be fascinating. I think running back and linebacker, again, with those two big name guys, ETN and Lloyd, I think they're going to have to do a lot of work at those positions still. But I think overall, you look at where guys should be projecting into 2026, when you look at their returning guys, I think they could still be they're still in good shape to be clear in my eyes, but there is a lot of projection involved. And when there is a lot of projection, there is inherent risk in that, especially in the NFL when you have to account for injuries and stuff like that. So I think it's been fascinating to watch from afar.
I like what you said about the long game element. And look, I'll give James Gladstone credit here to not just go spend money for the sake of spending money, because they've already said they're going to pick up the 5th-year option on Anton Harrison, and there's extensions that are coming up. I mean, they got to get Brenton Strange extended. They got to get Parker Washington extended. They got to get Trayvon Walker extended, potentially Antonio Johnson as well, or all of those guys are set to hit free agency. So as painful and as, you know, at some points maddening as it might be for Jaguar fans that nothing really happened this offseason, the news is going to start picking up pretty quick here, because I would think some extensions are going to be coming down the line sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Extensions for sure seem like they're on tap for Jacksonville. And look, kind of going back to my previous point, like just with projecting guys, I mean, we have seen some young Jags that they should be able to take another step forward into 2026. And we have to remember that Travis Hunter basically had like a redshirt year, right? Just because he missed so much time, and assuming his recovery, the rehab goes as scheduled, he'll be a factor, as you'd hope a former number 2 overall pick would be. So I think that's going to be something to watch. I mean, you obviously don't have the 1st round pick this year because of acquiring Hunter in the draft last year, but look, James Gladstone comes from a Rams franchise that really said F those picks, right? Those early, like those 1st round picks, and they poured a lot into their scouting, right, of guys in the day 2 range, maybe even early day 3, to really get strong contributors from that range. And so I think this is going to be like the first time we're really seeing maybe James Gladstone flex his muscles a bit in terms of like showing kind of the adds that they can make to this team to build off of a 13-4 year. I mean, when you have success, drafting becomes especially important. I think at the beginning, you need to add those free agents and whatnot to make sure you have like that floor set of how good your team can be. But once you have some success, drafting, particularly in the mid and late rounds, becomes more important. And so I think we're really going to start to see more of that for Jax moving forward.
You check Ben Arthur out all over Fox Sports, foxsports.com, the Fox Sports app, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, I want to look around the division a little bit with you. We know how close you are to the Tennessee Titans organization. Look, they had like $1 billion to spend in free agency, and to their credit, they tried to spend a lot of it. They brought in a lot of guys, from Franklin Myers from Denver, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alante Taylor, just to name a few. Look, I'll say this looking at it from afar. I think Tennessee's better. I think it might be relative, though, right? Because they were really bad last year. They're better, but Ben, are they good enough to compete for the division in 2026?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right, Ryan? I mean, like I was saying with my previous point about the Jags, like the Jags are in a different phase now, right, where they're maybe going to be depending more on the draft. The Titans are where the Jags used to be in terms of you have to use all that money and cap space you have to like make sure your floor as a team is like respectable. And the Titans were so bad that they needed to plug all these holes. I mean, their starting defense is completely different, essentially. You have another piece here and there for Cam Ward, and then you're going to have the number 4 overall pick as well. I think I like what they've done on defense. I think that defensive line in particular could be really strong. And then I think there's a lot of talk of the Titans potentially using the 4th pick, that top pick for the edge position, right? Whether it's Reuben Bain or David Bailey, whoever it is. I think that D line could be like very, very good. I think for me, the questions come on offense because it's like, okay, like, is Cam Ward going to take that leap in year 2 with a new coordinator in Brian Daboll? How's he going to connect with Wan'Dale Robinson? Are those second-year receivers or pass catchers that are going to be around Ward, like Aya Manor, Chim DK, who was all-pro as a returner, and Gunnar Helm, the tight end, like, are they going to make another leap? I think that's going to be really important. So for me, it's really monitoring, like, how far along Cam Ward and that offense progresses, because I think the defense, between moves they made, as we talked about, and then just having Robert Saleh, who you could say what you want as him, like as a head coach in his first tenure, but like defense was not the issue for him in New York. And so I think defensively they're going to be fine. It's all about that growth on offense. And I think that's the big question mark, because I think if you get more from Cam Ward, right, and he progresses as you'd hoped, I think you could maybe at least 6-7 wins, right? I think that's in the sights for sure, but it's gonna be really interesting to see like how that relationship with Daboll plays out.
Final moments. Ben Arthur of Fox Sports and FoxSports.com. Ben, I've had some of your colleagues nationally on, and I've asked them about Indianapolis. And on a couple of different occasions, I've gotten literally this response: I hated what the Colts did this offseason. So let me ask you, what were your thoughts on Indianapolis's offseason to this point?
I wouldn't say I hated it, but I wouldn't say I was the biggest fan either. I mean, I think by waiting with Alec Pierce, you massively overpaid him. I kind of understand having to trade Michael Pittman Jr. at just with the circumstances as they became, but you're missing a lot with him no longer in the picture. You're overpaying for Daniel Jones. You really had him as a great quarterback for like 8-9 games, and this contract is all based on projection, essentially. And they have some very glaring holes on defense. The draft is still to come, but you don't have your first round pick because of the Sauce deal last year. They need an edge guy. They need a linebacker after trading Zaire Franklin to the Packers. I think the Colts will be a fine team, but I don't know. There's a lot of kind of question marks, and they're leaning a lot on projection in a different way than the Jags are, but in more so in the sense of, okay, we were like a top 3 team in football for the first, 8 or 9 weeks of the season. We think we could be that same team, and I think they're kind of standing pat, or maybe being a little bit comfortable with that, and maybe kind of gambling because of that. So that's kind of my take on what they've done.
Ben, finally in the AFC South, let's go to Houston. Relatively quiet for them as well. They do bring in David Montgomery via trade. They did trade away a couple of their offensive linemen. They brought in the offensive guard, the 3-time Pro Bowler Wyatt Teller from Cleveland, which I thought was a nice acquisition. We know the defense is going to be great. That's not the issue. The issue is C.J. Stroud. And I got to tell you, Ben, even with the acquisition of David Montgomery, man, outside of Nico Collins, the Texans don't have anybody on offense that scares you. Is that going to be a problem for them again?
It could be, potentially. I do like Dalton Schultz a lot as a tight end. I think they're going to be depending a lot on Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel, those Iowa State receivers they drafted a couple years ago. I think they're going to have to make a really big leap. Xavier Hutchinson, too, who also happens to be an Iowa State guy who's drafted a year before both of them. But I think those depth receivers, they're all going to have to take a step forward. I've always been a fan of Tank Dell, but like just with his injury history, you don't really know what you're going to be getting from him in 2026. He's missed so much time since he was drafted. So yeah, it's going to be, it's an interesting case in Houston. I think David Montgomery is going to be huge for them. We saw what a healthy Joe Mixon did for that offense, and I think David Montgomery could have that similar impact in Houston, like as an undisputed RB1. But it's going to come down to CJ. I mean, I think ultimately the weapons are fine. The offensive line, I think, is going to be fine as well. It's just like, is Stroud going to get back on track? I think that's the biggest question. The quarterbacks coach, Gerard Johnson, is no longer in the picture, and they have Nick Caley back as the OC. So it's like, can things start to get back on track for CJ? I think he has enough around him. I think it's a matter of maybe a mental hurdle that he has to get past.
Ben, as we say goodbye, again, Ben Arthur of Fox Sports, foxsports.com, and the Fox Sports app. As we say goodbye, obviously it's only early April, and we'll have you back on certainly maybe a couple of times prior to training camp. The draft is 3 weeks away, so this narrative might even change in a couple of weeks. But as we sit here right now, beginning of April, with what's transpired in free agency, trades, and the such, how do you assess the AFC South 1-4 at the midpoint of the offseason?
Jacksonville's still number one for me. I think really the rankings are still kind of the same as far as kind of how it played out, right? Like Jacksonville being number one, Houston 2, Indianapolis 3, the Titans 4. As we discussed, like Jacksonville, there's a lot of like projecting with young guys and who they draft at play. But I think overall you still have the core of your roster, and apart from like maybe some extension question marks for some guys, I think you're dealing with largely the same team. Houston, it's still kind of the CJ Stroud question. That defense, which is a top 2 defense in football, is still intact. I think is Stroud going to get back to what we saw earlier. The Colts, it's kind of like, all right, are they going to get back to closer to what they were at the early part of 2025? I think if Daniel Jones is healthy, I think they'll be good, be in the playoff hunt. And then the Titans, to me, are still the worst team in the division, but as we discussed earlier, I think they've raised their floor substantially and should get at least a few more wins. So that's kind of where I stand as of April 1st.
Hard to believe rookie minicamps and OTAs will officially begin for teams next month. Ben Arthur, Fox Sports and foxsports.com. Ben, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the coverage you'll have coming out on foxsports.com in the coming weeks leading up to the draft.
Yeah, nothing in particular to be of note, just our constant stream of pre-draft content leading up to the draft in Pittsburgh. You can find that on foxsports.com or the Fox Sports app. And then as far as my stories, I usually put them out on my X feed, so at Ben Y Arthur, one word. So yeah, thanks again for having me, Ryan.
Ben, always enjoy the conversation. Thank you, man, and we'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir.
Picture a man going on a journey beyond sight and sound.
Picture a journey with 1010XL.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, the Checkmate chess man.
At most companies, people start on the ground floor and work their way up to the corner office. At Checkmate, I started on the ground floor, and almost 20 years in, that's still where I am, making ground floors look awesome, one garage at a time.
Well, I started as a pawn and worked my way up to king.
No, you didn't. Some guy drew you as a king. I asked them to give you a roller, so at least you'd look like one of the guys.
Yes, I rather would have preferred a sword.
At Checkmate, I work personally with our teams to perfect the preparation and application techniques that make Checkmate floors beautiful and durable.
And I keep things classy with my adorable accent.
Beautiful floors?
Check. Guaranteed to last?
Check. The finishing touch your home deserves? Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney.
This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-791-0000. That's 800-791-0000.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
We just had a good old-fashioned coaches battle, if you will. A little yelling in the face, not a real clean handshake, some words being exchanged. Love that. Gino Auriemma and Don Staley. South Carolina beats UConn. Auriemma went on an epic rant after the third quarter on ESPN about how awful the officiating was. And then he said something to Staley. She said something back, and then assistants had to get in the middle. I mean, whoa, that's good stuff. From a guy that doesn't have a dog in the fight, if you will, seeing Gino Auriemma and Don Staley in the Final Four wanting to get after each other in the post-game handshake line, that got my attention. So we'll see what happens. But congrats to South Carolina. UConn's first loss of the year. Boy, sports can be cruel, right? 38-0, UConn's first loss of the year, and they're out in the Final Four as South Carolina does advance. More on the Final Four. Again, the men tomorrow. UConn's men against Illinois in the first game, and then, of course, Michigan, Arizona in the nightcap. Big news today, Trayvon Walker, a 4-year contract extension here in Jacksonville. It was a big news week as it became official that Jacksonville in 2027 will be playing their home games down at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, while the Stadium of the Future is getting completed here in Jacksonville. One of my guys in Orlando is Cody Taylor with the USA Today covering the Orlando Magic, but he lives in the Orlando area. We'll get his thoughts, his perspective, boots on the ground in Orlando, who's also a Jaguar fan, mind you, about Jacksonville coming to Orlando in 2027. Might throw Cody a Magic question or two as well. As we roll on till 10 o'clock, glad you're with us on a Friday, heading into a big sports weekend. It's Hacker After Dark.
Bone-crushing blows to game-winning goals.
Yes!
Feel the energy on 1010XL.
History!
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home this weekend at Five-Star Ballpark. Join us tonight for fireworks and tomorrow at 6:35 for more fireworks and free Southpaw onesies to the first 2,000 fans through the main gate, courtesy of Miller Electric and Hyatt Regency Jacksonville Riverfront. Catch on the field and free face painting before the game on Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day at 2:05. Tickets start at just $5.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, it is official, 2027. Jacksonville will be heading to Camping World Stadium in Orlando. While our stadium of the future is getting built, the Jaguars will play their preseason, regular season, and hopefully some postseason home games down in Orlando, Florida at Camping World Stadium. What's been the vibe since the announcement was made that the Jaguars are coming to Orlando in 2027? And, of course, we're always going to talk a little Orlando Magic basketball here as the NBA playoffs are on the horizon, only about 2 weeks away. Cody Taylor down in Orlando does a terrific job covering the Magic for Rookie Wire, which is a part of the USA Today. And Cody's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Cody, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Ryan. I appreciate you having me on to talk some Jags and Magic.
Hey, Cody, thank you for the time. Want to get to Orlando, the Magic portion in a moment. First and foremost, though, the Jaguars obviously coming to Camping World Stadium in 2027. Seems to be an awful lot of excitement down there. You live in Orlando. What's been the response since that announcement was made?
Yeah, it's been mostly positive, all excitement from people here in Orlando. And, you know, personally, as a Jaguars fan, you know, I've heard from so many people already, and just the not even 24 hours since the announcement was made and made official. Obviously, it's been long rumored that the Jaguars would come to Orlando, but to see it finally happen, finally get agreed to, has been great, and the reception has been amazing. I have no doubt that in 27, when the Jags come here for their games, that the stadium, Camping World Stadium, will be packed, sold out each game. And the excitement, you know, by then, hopefully we're in a, you know, continued sustained playoff run and play deep into the playoffs that season.
Cody, there was a time in Orlando where it was a Miami Dolphin town. Has that time come and gone? Are the Jaguars pretty prevalent there already before they even get there in 27?
Yeah, I would say from my dealings and experience, it's still very much a Dolphins town. Even Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the closest team to us, you know, it is prevalent as well. There are a lot of Bucs fans, a lot of Dolphins fans in town. As there's a smattering of Jaguars fans that I've encountered, that I've seen, you know, out and about in town. And so I think it's a tremendous opportunity when you look at the Jaguars to maybe tap into another market. Obviously, Orlando is a secondary market for the team, you know, down here in Central Florida. So I think it'd be a great opportunity for them to tap into and get some fans that maybe, you know, the casual fan or just fans that aren't that familiar, don't watch the Jaguars all that often. And, you know, as I mentioned before, hopefully by then we're becoming a playoff caliber team year in and year out. And so when you look at the team and where we want to go, where we want to be, you know, it's an exciting time in our franchise history. And so hopefully that'll continue in Orlando in 27.
Cody Taylor of Rookie Wire, part of the USA Today. He covers the Orlando Magic. He's based in Orlando, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Cody, I see a lot of parallels between the Jaguars and the Magic. Look, I'm a diehard Orlando Magic fan. My uncle took me to the Orlando Arena in 1989, and I've been locked in ever since, for the good and the bad, mostly the bad, but I still love them. And I see a lot of parallels between the Magic and the Jaguars. Two towns that only have one pro sports team, right? The Magic in Orlando, the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Two franchises that, let's be honest, for the better part of the last 20 years, it has not been sunshine and rainbows by any stretch of the imagination. Yet the arrow seems to be pointing up a little bit for obviously Orlando with Paolo Banchero, here in Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence. And I wonder when people start analyzing the parallels down there in Central Florida, if that'll get more people to become Jaguar fans, just because the two franchises, quite frankly, are very similar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and something that I hadn't thought of yet. But yeah, it's a great observation that the Magic here, as they've kind of are on the trajectory, sort of their second rebuild though since Dwight Howard left back in 2012. Obviously, the first one didn't quite pan out quite as well as they wanted to, and so they're on their second one now. And as you mentioned, Hal Dancaro, Franz Wagner, they made a bold move to acquire Desmond Bain, who's been just a revelation, honestly, for the team this season. And then you look at the Jags and how we're I say we as a fan, of course, but as we're kind of on the trajectory upward, and Trevor Lawrence, it felt like really took a step forward this past season and really showed the type of player that he can become as the number one pick. And so we're seeing that now with Paolo Banchero, rookie of the year, already an all-star. Franz Wagner, not quite the year that he wanted this season, dealing with the ankle injury. But these are two guys that are kind of on the rise, and were highly touted, especially Paolo Banchero as a former number one pick himself. And so you can kind of start seeing the light bulb click on for these guys that they're starting to get it together and figure out things and find their footing. And so their teams are on the rise as a result.
Cody, Orlando's like a second home to me. I got family all throughout Lakeland, Winter Haven, Lake Wales, St. Cloud. As I'm sure you probably know, I'm a Disney guy. My son, my wife, and I myself go to Disney all the time. And I take it for granted, I guess, that people here in Jacksonville know a lay of the land in Orlando. I mean, you're talking, what, Camping World Stadium's 20 minutes away from Universal, maybe less, probably 30 minutes away from Walt Disney World. I mean, the possibilities for Jaguar fans in 2027 are unreal, just to make family weekends. I mean, to go to the theme parks on Friday and Saturday and go to a game on Sunday, or if the NBA does them a solid, once October, November roll around, boy, imagine a Magic home game the night before a Jaguar game down there in Orlando. I mean, possibilities are endless. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And, when back before this announcement was made official, and Orlando really became the favorite front runner to land the Jags for 27. And, obviously there was talk of Gainesville and the Swamp, and even the Daytona International Speedway, I think, was an option, a distant option. I was obviously very biased, being an Orlando native and a Jaguars fan. I always thought that, Orlando, Central Florida was the number one option, the best option for the Jags. And I understand that, Jaguars fans in Jacksonville and the surrounding areas, it's a much shorter drive to Gainesville. But when you look at it, Jacksonville to Orlando is about 2 hours from door to door, give or take some time there. But, there's so many different things that Orlando has to offer. You mentioned the theme parks, the attractions, and just some of the other things, that are in those surrounding areas. And you don't have to worry about, Gators game on Saturday in the Swamp taking up all the hotel space, or potentially a Jags game on Sunday in Gainesville. Orlando, there's so many different hotel options, within a 5-mile radius of Camping World Stadium. Downtown Orlando is right about a mile away. It's all about a 1.5-mile radius of each other. The Kia Center, you can take a scooter from the Kia Center down to Camping World, on the same trip. So, I mean, it's all very close. I certainly hope that the NBA and NFL can work together on a schedule in 27 and get some magic home games surrounding a Jaguars home game here in Orlando. And, I think it'll be another great opportunity for Orlando to just sort of, show itself and what it has to offer to maybe some of the fans in Jacksonville who may not get down here quite as often as they want to.
Jaguar Twitter's already talking about Epcot takeovers on Saturday prior to games down there on Sunday. And boy, what a scene that would be. Final moments with Cody Taylor. He's with Rookie Wire, which is a part of the USA Today. He lives in Orlando, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Cody, as we begin to wrap up, I want to end with a Magic question or two. As far as Camping World Stadium, I'm a Corona's cigar bar guy in downtown Orlando. Love me some Church Street Station. That's about, a couple of miles away from Camping World. That's closer to the Kia Center. The nightlife for the Magic games is incredible. What about around Camping World Stadium? Is there anything for Jaguar fans to enjoy, or do they plan on, building that up a little bit in the next year and a half prior to the Jaguars' arrival?
Yeah, as far as around Camping World, there's not too many options. I have to believe that in the next, year and a half, things will kind of manifest itself, and businesses and owners will get stuff going down in that direction. And I mean, not even just for Jaguars games. As we know, the Stadium of the Future is being built in Jacksonville. We're also undergoing renovations of our own at Camping World that will hopefully attract other things in addition to the Jaguars. But the city of Orlando does a tremendous job of, setting up shuttles that run from different pickup points in downtown. And like you mentioned, it's about 1.5 miles or so from that area down to Camping World. And they have constant shuttles running from Camping World back to downtown. So the transition from around the area of the stadium after a Jaguars game should be pretty seamless. The shuttles are running constantly. I know from personal experience going to events, concerts at Camping World, that I haven't had to wait much longer than 15, 20 minutes to get back down. And also, if you're feeling adventurous enough, you can make the walk. It's not the most fun walk, obviously, almost 2 miles, but it's all pretty close in proximity to each other.
I did that after WrestleMania a few years ago, and boy, what a scene that was with 70,000 wrestling fans going from Camping World to Church Street Station. That was certainly a sight to behold. Cody, as we wrap up, as far as the stadium itself, if memory serves, the lower bowl is pretty good at Camping World Stadium. The upper deck, I remember, left a little bit to be desired, but that's the $400 million renovation, right? They're doing stuff to the upper deck prior to 27.
Yeah, from what I understand is kind of the target there. They've already removed one side of seating in the upper bowl, and the idea is to connect the upper bowl, the concourse area, which for some reason isn't already done. But that's top of the agenda, so you can kind of move about in the upper bowl, and then they want to add, kind of upgrade some of the suites, make the concourse area, I think, a little bit bigger. And there's some other seating adjustments that they'd like to make that maybe can expand the seating for a certain concert or whatever the case is. But from what I understand, a lot of it's just kind of minor upgrades, but things that obviously have plagued the city in the past from maybe prevented them from getting some bigger events that maybe have gone to Tampa or Miami or even Jacksonville.
I've told fans here, granted, Kia only holds about 20,000. You're talking about over 65,000 Camping World. But leaving an Orlando Magic game, a Magic game starts at 7, lets out at 9:15. I'm usually home no later than 11:30 or 11:45. I mean, it is pretty seamless to get out of Kia Center, get back on I-4, and then head to 95 and back up here home. So hopefully that'll be the same case in Camping World once the Jaguars come down there for that season in 27. Quickly on Orlando, look, injuries again have ravaged their season. I don't know what it takes to have Banchero, Franz, and Suggs on the court together. I guess acts of higher powers at this point. They've only played 14% of games together in the last 2 years, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, I guess the big question, if Jamal Mosley doesn't get out of the first round, is he gone? And if he is it Mike Malone or Taylor Jenkins that are going to replace him?
Yeah, I think that's certainly going to be on the table and a very high possibility. If the Magic, don't get out of the first round or even out of the play-in tournament, which appears to be where they're probably going to be. When Jeff Weltman and the Magic acquire Desmond Bain from the Memphis Grizzlies for 4 first-round picks, that's a hefty price. On top of the contract that he brings with him, I believe it was in the 150, 160 range, 4 years left on it prior to this season. But, when you leverage those sort of assets, the mindset automatically shifts to win now. And so if you're the Magic and you don't get out of the first round, for instance, I think that they'll take a strong look at Jamal Mosley, and I think that he'll probably be gone. If that were to be the case, Weltman around the trade deadline spoke to the media here and said that his job was safe for the rest of the season. Obviously, a lot of different things can factor into that, such as maybe a 50-point loss to the Toronto Raptors on Sunday. You lose 6 straight, and then which followed a 7-game win streak, which obviously is not the direction that anyone in the front office thought the team would take. So I think that if they don't make a deep playoff run, and as of right now, it doesn't look to be the case of kind of where they are right now and how they've been playing, then I think changes will be made. But obviously, things can change on the positive side, and they can kind of figure it out. We're hearing Franz Wagner will be back here soon, the next couple games, and you'd like to get him a good ramp-up period before the play-in tournament, play a first round of the playoffs, wherever they fall, to get him kind of back up to game speed before all the really important games start to count. And so I think that, Mike Malone and Taylor Jenkins are certainly some options for them, and I think that those two would be pretty solid pickups, additions for the team. Obviously, Michael Malone, a champion not that long ago with the Denver Nuggets, and coach probably the best player in the world right now in Nikola Jokic. So I think he brings great experience, and you'd have to expect that he'd be the front runner if the Magic do decide to make a change.
Cody, there's a lot of Magic fans up here in Jacksonville, man. Tell them about Rookie Wire, which is part of USA Today, and where they can find your coverage.
Yeah, you can find me at therookieWire.usatoday.com, and obviously cover all the rookies. Magic rookies haven't covered quite as much just because they're not playing, but Jace Richardson and Noah Penda have been 2 solid additions to the bench. And, once they can get fully healthy, I think those 2 guys, along with the rest of the team, can make strong contributions to the team.
Cody Taylor. Cody, I know you're busy, man. Thank you as always for the time, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it, Ryan. Anytime.
And thank you to Cody Taylor, part of Rookie Wire, which is a part of the USA Today, for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark, as we certainly spent some time on the Orlando Magic and what, quite frankly, is turning into one of the biggest disappointments in the NBA this year. But we also spent some time on the big news of the week. Obviously, Cody is based in Orlando. He lives in the Central Florida area, and the big news earlier this week that Jacksonville will play in 2027 down at Camping World Stadium, as the stadium of the future is being built here in Jacksonville. So it was interesting to get Cody's perspective on the thought about Jacksonville coming down there, what that could potentially do for the city of Orlando moving forward. As I've said all week, I think it's a great opportunity for Jaguar fans, make a family weekend out of it. Go down to Disney or Universal or SeaWorld, or if you have little kids, Legoland for a day or two, and then stay down there and head to the game on Sunday in downtown Orlando, and then drive back to Jacksonville. I think a lot of people will probably end up doing that, and I think it is a great opportunity. Again, that's 2027. As we know, this upcoming year, the Jaguars will play here in Jacksonville, just with limited capacity at Everbank Stadium, as, again, this construction well underway for the Stadium of the Future, which is set to open during the 2028 season. So we certainly spent some time on that, spent some time on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the rest of the AFC South, and obviously talked a lot of draft, as we are inside of 3 weeks away from the NFL Draft. April 23rd through the 25th up in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars, 11 draft picks total, including 4 in the top 100. In fact, 3 weeks from tonight will be a big night for Jacksonville. Day 2 of the draft on Friday, the 24th, is where they do have those 4 selections, 1 in round number 2 and 3 selections in round number 3. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Friday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM, and we do have a ton of people to thank. Cody Taylor of Rookie Wire, which is part of the USA Today, talking Orlando Magic and the Jaguars coming down to Orlando in 2027. Appreciate Cody. Thank you to Ben Arthur of FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app, as we not only looked at Jacksonville, but looked around the rest of the off seasons in the AFC South. Took a deep dive into Houston, Indianapolis, and Tennessee as well. And then back in hour number 1, Emory Hunt. He is the owner of Football Game Plan. You also see him on CBS Sports HQ. And the Football Game Plan Draft Guide comes out next week. 1,200 scouting reports this year in the Football Game Plan Draft Guide. It is one of, if not the most comprehensive draft guides out there. Emory does a great job with that. And if you want to check it out, just go find footballgameplan.com. Links there will be all over the place for the 2026 draft guide. And we certainly appreciate Emory taking time out for us this evening. Now, we will be back on Monday night, and we will do it all over again here on Hacker After Dark, beginning at 8 o'clock. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending not only your Friday evening with us, but your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Friday evening and a fantastic weekend. And we will reconvene next Monday right here on Hacker After Dark, beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.